Down multiple players, Kentucky basketball had to face off against one of the most physical teams in the entire country. And of course, their freshmen, when they needed them the most, stepped up in a massive way.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on tonight's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's huge 75-64 win over the Tennessee Volunteers, a sweep for the Cats here in the regular season. Unfortunately, some injuries, some setbacks, but the Cats battled through it, largely due in part to the production that they got from their bench. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel where we are broadcasting live or the podcast feed, would love it if you did so. Like the video. Let me know what you thought about this game. If you're here in the live chat, we're going to be breaking this one down with you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Huge win for Kentucky. A game where you needed to see some intensity. Coming off of that win over South Carolina, you wanted to see that defense continue to build on the momentum that they had created. Heading into this one, without Jackson Robinson, Lamont Butler banged up, ended up leaving this game at a crucial point in the second half, and yet the Cats continue to show grit, fight, heart, whatever word you want to use, passion. They were out there playing with it. I loved every single moment that I saw from Kentucky on the defensive end here today, holding Tennessee to just 64 points despite giving up a few offensive rebounds, some second chance points. This was a gutsy, physical win from the Cats, something that you have not really seen from them all season long. Talk about the kid that really showed up and played so well on both ends of the floor, Trent Noah. He has not really been a factor, at least he wasn't at the beginning of the SEC slate, but as the broadcast continued to mention, because of so many injuries, he was having to step up and play more and more minutes. Get this. 11 points, 3 of 4 from the floor, knocked down his first 2 free throws of the season, 2 rebounds, an assist, did not turn the ball over, 19 minutes of play, plus 18 in the plus-minus box score, led all players. This is what we had been wanting to see. We had been begging on this show. Play Trent Noah more. He plays with heart. He plays with energy. He fights for rebounds. He's a great shooter. He is aggressive, confident. The Mountain Mamba stepped up today in a massive way. Plus 18. The best player on the floor, according to the box score. Absolutely incredible stuff here from your freshman. And let's not forget somebody who has kind of been viewed in a bit of a negative light at various points. Travis Perry had to come into this game, and he balled as well. 3 of 4 from the floor, 8 points in 12 minutes of play. Now, he was -9. Defensively, he had some issues. Of course, everybody's going to have issues staying in front of Zakai Ziegler. But to knock down those 2 big threes, confidence. Love the minutes from the freshman, 19 total points. That's what you needed with Jax out, with Butler playing only 22 minutes in this contest. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Freshmen were clutch tonight. And it wasn't just like hey, by the way, the freshmen played well in a win and it wasn't like a huge factor. No, Trent Noah was major for Kentucky here tonight. Crucial for their victory, which makes you ask the question, if Kentucky's going to continue to battle injuries as they have all season, closing out the regular season and into the postseason, is Trent Noah going to start to really develop in front of our eyes? Is he going to start to play a larger role, continue to build on what he's doing defensively, continue to be confident shooting the basketball? Of course, you're not going to continue to shoot plus 50% every single night, which is what it feels like Noah has been able to do every time he stepped out onto the floor. But still, the minutes he has provided have been so valuable for UK. Absolutely incredible. Overall, for Kentucky, this was, in a way, similar to the previous contest in terms of some percentages, but not similar whenever you actually go and watch the way that Kentucky decided to execute on the defensive end. Tennessee in that first game shot 45 threes. In the preview episode, we talked about whether or not Kentucky was going to pack it in, whether or not they were going to let Tennessee shoot as much as they did. I said I don't think they could get away with that again. They had to be more aggressive. They had to step out on the three-point line. They had to close out more aggressively. They ran Tennessee off of that three-point line. Just 18 three-point attempts, 3 of 18 overall. Milicic was the only player to hit an outside shot, period, for the Vols. That is what you wanted to see. Kentucky all season has not been aggressive enough, I don't think, closing out on three-point shooters. And gentlemen, they got it done today. Chaz Lanier, 10 points, 0 of 7 from 3. When you look at what Ziegler did as well, 0 of 2. Gainey, 0 of 4, continued to mention. And maybe if we play Tennessee again, he goes off. Maybe I'll have to eat my words for this. But Gainey, somebody that's been so good for them for so long, 4 of 12, 0 of 4, not concerned as a volume guy. I think Kentucky, through 2 games, has proven, hey, we can match up pretty decently with Tennessee, even if we're down or hurt multiple players. It's at their place. It's at ours. If we meet them in the SEC tournament, I wouldn't say, yeah, I'm going into this one thinking that we're going to win it by 30, but at least it's a game against such a good opponent where you come out of it going, okay, we can hang with an extremely physical team. We can hang with a team like Duke. We can hang with a team like Florida. What else can the Cats do? We'll have to see. Has Ziegler played 7 years? Is the first chat I'm going to get to here. It feels like it. All due respect to him, man, he played really well in this game. Kentucky wanted to make him into a scorer. They wanted to make sure that he was not passing the rock around a ton. 6 assists to 4 turnovers. Had some chaos there, but 17 points. I mean, he got the job done on the offensive end. He was still very much so a factor, was big for them. Respect to Ziegler, respect to a player like Milicic, who we said in the preview episode, man, that guy's a baller. Great three-point shooter. Transfer from Charlotte. He stepped up in a big way today. Was not enough. Unfortunately, was not enough against UK. We'll continue to break this one down. We'll try and get to some more chats here. The Holler Ballers, as somebody in the chat said, they were not having it tonight. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you guys about our friends over at Wayfair. After all of this holiday hustle, we're getting into the new year, and there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that, decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. I just did that actually yesterday, and whether you're tidying up, cleaning out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. There's something for everyone, for every style and every home. Again, no matter your space or budget, and they make it easy to tackle your new year goals with endless inspiration for every space. And what is your decor style? Why do you like specific items? What exactly are you looking for? Wayfair has the answers to all of those questions. They'll be able to get you exactly what you want, again, for the price that you'll really, really like. And if you want to give your home the refresh it needs, you can go to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. It's every style for every home. All right, continuing along here on the Tuesday evening edition of Locked On Kentucky, Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. I really appreciate you guys checking out the show tonight. If you are watching in the live chat, first of all, would love it if you like the video. Subscribe to the show. If you are new, just hit 15,000 subs on the YouTube channel. Big stuff here from the Cats tonight, who have now jumped back inside the top 20 on KenPom, inside the top 85 nationally in adjusted defensive efficiency. I believe they were like 90th heading into this game. And gentlemen, I think this is the biggest thing for us. We're not going to talk a ton of stats here, but I do want to point out Kentucky, since the beginning of the slate, the conference slate, they have been dead last in the conference in 2-point field goal defense. They are now 15th. Climbing, making moves. That is the big number that I have been tracking all season long, saying you have to be better inside the arc. And here they are, making some moves, man. Tonight, if you want to go look at the statistics, Tennessee just shot 43% from the floor, again, 17% from beyond the arc. Everybody stepped up in some sort of way. Goodness gracious, what a victory. Talk about Ainsley Almanor as well. He had back-to-back games where you didn't really hear a lot from him. I believe it was just back-to-back games, 0 points. He had like 1 shot or maybe 2 shots tonight. 13 points, 4 of 5, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. Something that I've continued to think about with Almanor is when you look at all of these different pieces across the roster, I mean, it's very clear. Mark Pope came in with a plan to bring together a bunch of different guys that could shoot the lights out of the basketball, but you didn't really see a ton of ball handlers, a ton of guys that could create in isolation or create period with the ball in their hands. They were really good spot-up catch-and-shoot type guys. Almanor is like the perfect example of that. He's a great catch-and-shoot guy, anticipates well, already is basically in his shooting form by the time he gets the ball in his hands. But tonight, you saw him put it on the deck a couple of different times. That huge and one in the second half, I believe, to retie the game after Kentucky had gotten down 3. You want to see more of that from him. He's a big-bodied wing that I think can do stuff like that. You'll have to, I think, expand your arsenal a little bit heading into postseason play. And his 13 points tonight in 22 minutes were big. Also, Otega Owe, who's not been shooting the rock well, but still, he's getting his points. 13 points, 4 of 6 from the charity stripe, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, no turnovers, 2 blocks. A huge block in that first half. We'll get to Bray in a second. Let's take a look at the live chat here. Luke Newman says they had Tennessee a 2 seed during the game in bracketology, and if I'm not mistaken, they had them as like a 1 right before it. So it's interesting that they dropped them down a seed line. I'm sure that Bracket Matrix has some interesting thought about that. Donald Russell mentions Garrison making 3-pointers. He missed his first one, and I was like, okay, maybe we just kind of lay off of that. And then he hit his second tonight, 5 points, 5 rebounds in 18 minutes, a block, a couple of turnovers, unfortunately, but an assist. You see the flashes from Brandon Garrison. We said it after his 15-point outburst against the Gamecocks last outing. He is developing, and that 3-point shot is becoming more and more and more of a factor as the season goes on. As Russell mentions the chat again, he's getting more comfortable with that shot, and his percentage is going up. It's not going down. He's continuing to make more. He's consistently going 1 of 2, 1 of 3. Want to see him continue to be confident in that. Something interesting, I mentioned it at the top of the live here, the live show. Kentucky in the first game in Knoxville, 12 of 24 from 3. You saw it again, seeing double, 12 of 24 in this one for the Cats, with Kobe Brea actually hitting 3 threes, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, and he missed like his first couple. And it was the similar thing with Garrison, right, where it was like, okay, maybe it's just not his night. And he hit a really tough shot at the top of the key in the second half. And then he did it again, and it was all him. It was him waving off somebody and creating against, I believe it was Akpara, or whoever the mismatch was. And he was just knocking it down. Clutch stuff from Kobe Brea to close out the game. 33 minutes plus 10. Second best player on the floor, according to the box score. How about Andrew Carr, who didn't really play a ton, he didn't bring a ton statistically to the table, but still plus 16. Playing well against Tennessee's bigs. Pretty dang good. Not mad at that at all. No fouls, by the way. Let's see here. Luke Newman makes a really interesting point here, and I think I saw this before I went live. Kentucky is tied with AP top 10 teams at 5 with the 2011-12 national championship team. I think you were saying like they've got 5 wins against AP top 10 opponents. I think they've got the most in program history against top 15. I might be wrong about that. Let's see here. Jeffrey Evans said, Amari Williams played so well. He's continued to impress me. Calm, quiet, 6 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block, 3 of 5 from the floor. Had a couple of big moves in the post. Sometimes what Amari does is erratic in the paint, where you just don't really like the shot, but tonight he was getting to his spots, and he was plus 16. Defensively, huge for the Cats at various points in this one. Kentucky's front court, despite some foul trouble early, battled through it, and they were able to hold firm towards the end of the game. Love it. Really do love it. Let's see here. Live chat, Steph says, yes, so proud of Noah. Love his game so much. Somebody that can give you some true 3-and-D minutes. Great Kentucky and longtime listener says, I believe Pope is now 8-0 against Tennessee, both as a player and a coach. Would love to have that on my resume, and I sure would too. Somebody else says, wonder how Chaz Lanier feels about his decision now. And I don't want to trash the kid too much. I don't want to sit here and dog him, but I do think that it is an interesting note to point out in both games against Kentucky, he's not played very well at all shooting the rock, and now you're looking at what he could project out to be moving forward for the Vols this season. I mean, he's not been great inside the arc. He's been a pretty good outside shooter, but 2 games against UK, he has not lived up to the moment. Stephen makes a very good point here in his comment. Best 2-game stretch of defense all season. I think that embarrassing performance in Oxford lit a fire. Giving up 98 points and just 1 turnover on the road in Oxford against Ole Miss. You heard about Pope breaking furniture. You saw the blood on his hand in the postgame. You want to see more intensity. You want to see more aggression. And Pope talked about how there's a time and a place to really pick and choose your spots with that stuff, right? And I think there was the right time. It was the right time to get angry and to go out there and to try and get this team to motivate a little bit more on the defensive end. As Bluegrass Beer points out, 4-1 versus AP top 5. Right. Big. I mean, that's crazy. You've beaten Duke. I think Gonzaga was, Gonzaga was a top 5 win, top 5 win when you played them. They're now, by the way, the Zags, who are not ranked, if I'm mistaken, they're up to 13 on KenPom now. You've beaten Florida. You've beaten Tennessee twice. If you could have held on against Alabama at home, man, that would have been clutch. But I'm not complaining. 17-7 now, 6-5. You got a tough matchup against the Texas Longhorns later on this week on Saturday. Man, is that going to be a big one or what? Nathan King says my dad actually called me and said my dad actually called me and said we were playing defense. He noticed and was like, "What are we doing?" It's energy. It's want to. It's grit. Kentucky got out there, and I think that at one point in the first half, I need to go check the split box here. I think Tennessee in that first half only had, 1 offensive rebound? They had 2. Just 2 second-chance opportunities. For the game, they had 8, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so 6 in the second half. Way, way, way better than what you had in that first game where I think you gave up 18 offensive boards. It was a major point of emphasis both before the game and during the game, according to the broadcast. UConn's not ranked either, which is fascinating, right? It's just wild that those two have kind of taken a dip. It's because they've taken some weird losses. UConn's defense has just been nowhere near as good as it has been over the last couple of years, but goodness gracious, 336 of you in the live chat. Hey, again, if you've not liked the video, go ahead and like it. If you've got a thought about this game, throw it in the comments here. We're just talking to you guys about how this one plays out. And if you want an update on the Texas Longhorns, Great Kentuckians got one for you. Alabama's up 25-17 against Texas right now with 8:03 left in the first half. And Donald Russell makes a point. I had written this down. Thank you for reminding me. Don't forget, Nate Ament was at Tennessee when Kentucky won. And he was here tonight when Kentucky beat them again. Nate Ament, I mean, if you're seeing a combined 24 made threes while you've seen these 2 games, and now you're coming off of this visit to UK where they find a gutsy win and they utilize a bunch of different players in their rotation. They get deep in their bench. They call in their freshmen. They are confident in their outside shot. For such a talented offensive player in the 2025 class, if I'm Nate, why would I look elsewhere? This is a player that would be very much so valuable on next year's roster, especially considering what the power forward position is going to look like. There's no one there unless Nate Ament comes. If I'm Ament, I love what I'm seeing. Let's take a look at that NIL package and let's get this thing done. Absolutely. The Kentucky boys, as Thomas Chesser points out, the Kentucky boys, man, you got to take a flyer on these kids more often. Like, if you're looking at in-state prospects, I mean, I know Travis was a big deal, and he was obviously coming to Kentucky no matter what it felt like. But guys like Noah from Harlan, I mean, you have to look at these kids. Basketball is this state. This is what this state is known for. That and horse racing. I mean, you're gonna get ball, and you're gonna get horse racing, and you've got some thoroughbreds out here that are playing in the high school ranks that you need to take a closer look at. Just in my opinion. 502 Gutter Crew says, Pope's philosophy, the way he can motivate and trust his players, it is awesome. And I think the big thing here I think a big thing here is against Texas. This is going to be a team that's unranked. This is going to be a team that is probably projecting here, coming off a loss to Alabama. They need wins to get into the tournament. Kentucky cannot have a letdown. Man, two big wins here. Two huge wins for Kentucky. Can you make it 3 in a row? Can you go out there this Saturday and just play with more heart? Keep it pushing somehow. I know Butler if he's not playing this Saturday and Jax isn't playing, we've got some problems. I mean, you are setting yourself up for a very rough time, if not a loss on the road in the SEC. It's so difficult to win. But it's a quad 1 game. It could be your 10th quad 1 win of the season. Can you go out and, again, just get us a win before you come back and play Vandy on Wednesday? You get that extra day of rest. Man, that would be big. That would be huge. Because then after that, you go into a stretch where you play at Bama, at Oklahoma, two of the better offenses in the SEC, obviously one of the best in the nation, and then Oklahoma, which has been really good, minus playing Auburn. Continue to show that edge. Nathan King, again, says, I just think they're tired of being pushed around. They've slowed it down a fair bit. They're being more methodical, I think is what you wanted to say there on offense. When we were turning it over a lot during those losses, they were wild. And if you want to go look at it, this is now 3 straight games in a row where Kentucky has played slower and slower and slower. Of course, you've also played some teams that play a slower style of ball. But, man, if you can continue to be this successful in the half court, I think that you are going to see a lot of positive things to close out the season. Now Kentucky, looking ahead, back to 21-10, 10-8 is their projected record. Man, that Texas game, that's big for you. That is really, really big. That could be the difference between if you have a rough end because of injuries and you don't beat Texas, that could be the difference between a 5 and a 3 seed. I mean, genuinely could be a major difference between that. Let's see. And Luke Newman pointing out 2 of the best teams in the SEC playing each other this Saturday. Alabama, Auburn, number 1 versus number 2. Never happened in SEC play before. Really interesting. I think the broadcast noted it's like the 6th time in state you've seen number 1 and number 2 play each other. Great Kentuckian says, Lance, did you hear that Noah's nickname is Mountain Mamba? Sure did. Someone called in on KSR to call him Sweet and Mountain Baby Angel, but Mountain Mamba is more fitting, especially if he stays here and develops. I think that it should be Mountain Mamba because it is a sick name. And then on top of that, if he stays here and develops, I mean, you're looking at sophomore Trent Noah being a crucial part of this small forward rotation, and then junior Noah is a starter. I mean, that if he continues to play well on defense and is this serious going to the glass, man, crashing it like this, the answer is yes. The Mountain Mamba will be big for Kentucky moving forward. And this is what we've been talking about. This is what we said in the preseason, right? About getting kids together and making sure they don't leave. Making sure you get guys that are underclassmen or freshmen and developing them. Making them work through your system. Getting them stronger. Getting them smarter. Getting them more experience. Guys like Noah, 2 years down the line, as a junior, could be somebody that plays a pivotal role on a potential national title-seeking team. Of course, that's what we're going to be trying for every year. Does Noah and Perry stay or transfer? Man, I'm looking right now. At the very least, I think you got to pull out all the stops to keep Noah. Of course, I don't think that's going to take much to make sure he stays here. But he's looking good. He's looking really, really good. What is he shooting now? 9 of 17 from 3 on the year. I mean, he's been so confident whenever he's pulled it. You got to love it. You absolutely have to love it. Does Garrison or Owe transfer or go to the NBA or stay? That is going to be another question because I think Garrison is another player that could be big on your roster next year. I think he's somebody that you have to try and keep. And then Owe, because of his, I guess, not necessarily efficiency, but because of his consistency, he's somebody that I think you have to try and keep as well. Steph says if we get Owe and Garrison back, plus Noah and Perry, and the guys we have coming in, man, that'd be a great start. That's a good team next year, man. That is a good team. Now you have to, I think, you have to get somebody at either forward. You have to get a forward that's got some bulk to him in the portal that can play some defense. You have to get a shot blocker in the portal. That is your utmost priority. Because if Garrison continues to span out, like flare out, and he's able to hit threes, you play a big and you play Garrison. You play another big that can block shots. You play Garrison who can shoot threes and pass the ball. That's a tough lineup. That's a tough out. And this offseason will be big for Pope for so many different reasons. Luke Newman says, Almanor shooting 43% from three. We're getting production out of so many different guys that were not shooting well to start the year. Robinson's up to 38.1%. Butler's at 38.5%. You look across, you see Garrison now up to 30.4%. Kobe Brea at 45%. Almanor at 44.3%. Trent Noah at 52.9%. Combines for the 17th best three-point shooting offense in the nation. What kind of injury do you think Butler has in the shoulder? Is it a rotator cuff or something? I'm not quite sure. I'm not going to lie. I did not actually get a good look at the injury live. I need to go back and see what happened. We're going to get more answers from Pope as the week goes on. We'll get a clear answer Friday as to whether or not he's able to go, but you got to rest him, and you just got to hold on, man. I mean, you are wrapping up the season. This is crunch time. You got 5 freaking quad 1 games here out of your final, out of your final 6 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't count. I just completely forgot LSU. Yeah, so out of your final 7 games, you got 5 Q1s. Why was Robinson out? Because of his wrist. They had this splint on his hand the entire time. He would be big this Saturday against Texas. And Josh points out, we play significantly better with Butler, even if he does not have a ton of points. Torn labrum, from what I heard. That was what the report was before he came back. I really hope it's not re-aggravated. I really hope it's something light. Jaden Quaintance would be a big return. Do you think Kerr will play Saturday? I saw he was a game time decision for today's game. That was not true. I think Pope actually, he came out and said, yeah, despite what you're seeing online, it's not true. I don't think he'll play this Saturday. Frankly, I would be shocked if he played again this year. And that's not me trying to be gloom and doom. It's just with the way that his injury was and the fact that it is drawn out for this long, I don't know. I'm not sure. Matt Dean says clutch threes from Brea was the win. Hard to disagree. Brea, Noah, all big for the Cats. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, if you've not subscribed, would love to have you. Of course, we'll be talking about Nate Ament coming out of his big-time visit. We'll be talking more about Kentucky down the stretch. We'll be talking more bracketology as the Cats get closer and closer to the end of the regular season. Texas this Saturday will be a big game, but you get this one 75-64, a 9-point victory at home over the Tennessee Volunteers. And I think that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked on Kentucky. You guys can follow the show on Twitter at Locked on UK. You can follow me on Twitter at LanceDawe_, and you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked on Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and God bless. Woo!